Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Midday Western U.S. Regional Forecast video brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, I'd like to start you off with an animation from yesterday. This is midday through sunset, and it's just a pretty spectacular view to watch here across parts of the Southwest and over California. We can certainly see the storms popping on the mountains here in parts of Nevada and also in California and the Sierra Nevada. But overall, throughout the Northwest, it was almost a perfectly clear day, and through the Central Valley, pretty clear day. Some storms did pop, though, again, on the rim of the mountains in northern part of the Sacramento Valley. But look out over the open ocean. You can actually see this really amazing transition from what we call closed cell stratocumulus, okay, right here, into open cell stratocumulus. Watch it again. See that? That's just one of the fascinating things about the Pacific Ocean. And also, in case you're wondering what these features are, these streaks through here, these are ship tracks. So this is the diesel smoke that comes out of the top of these ships. It basically initiates cloud formation, and a pretty spectacular view of what that was going on there. Now, do you also see coming out right in through here this upper level pulse here of clouds? We got to talk about what that might mean as we look forward in this forecast. So let's get right on into it. Over the last week, we have seen, measured from radar here, this much precipitation. So this is coming from the MRMS. And I know you're getting a little bit different look from this today. I'm migrating some of my data off of one server to another, so I'm going to show you some third-party sources for a little while. One thing we have been watching is the Southwestern Monsoon. Now, you can see that there are some places where the Southwestern Monsoon has yet to really produce great precipitation. There are holes down there in parts of Arizona. But generally, through parts of the Four Corner states, pretty good Southwestern monsoonal flow. Also, you can see over the last week some of the storms that have popped up on the Sierra Nevada and into parts of Nevada as well. Now, what I want you to watch carefully is going to be the jet stream wind pattern. I'm just going to play it for you. You can see this all evolve here in the Pacific. Relatively weak flow. It's pretty far to the north, but in general, this flow pattern is not blocked, and that's something we would be very concerned about, is to see it all blocked up. But the pieces that I want you to pay closest attention to are right back at the beginning. So as we move this forward into this afternoon and this evening, you can see a high pressure cell to the south here, and you can see right here coming into parts of Northern California a very small low. And as we work our way throughout the day today and into tomorrow, to the south there's a little bit of a jet. And this is going to produce here in parts of, well, the northern part of California through Central California, pretty good upper level dynamics for some pop-up storms. So don't be surprised if we see that. Then as we work our way into the middle of the week, we see right here another wave that sweeps through into parts of the northwest, and that's going to increase midweek storm chances there. But overall, we see that the jet stream is really firing right in through this area. It's zonal. It's not blocked up, which is good. But unfortunately, with this particular flow pattern being so far to the north, that's much of the precipitation is going to stay out there over the open ocean. So you can see that. If I just look through the next week here, the west coast is just barely on the edge of the image, but we can see the possibility of those storms here with the first wave, the midweek wave bringing in the storms into this part of Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. But in general, the heaviest precipitation, of course, is staying out here, while higher atmospheric pressure tends to occupy this region south of the Gulf of Alaska. Do also notice that the European model is producing a tropical cyclone here that may potentially impact Hawaii. Now, we don't often talk about Hawaii in these Western U.S. regional videos, but technically Hawaii is in the Western region when we need to be talking about it. So I want to show you a different view on this, because there's another piece to this that I want to talk about. So this is just the next week's worth of precipitation, but now we're looking here at the primary CONUS, the continental United States. We once again see pretty strong evidence of our southwestern monsoon as this ridge sets up here over this section of the United States. And what's interesting is there's a tropical feature that's coming out of Cuba later today that's going to gain some strength in the Gulf. Now, why I bring this up is right now the operational models and even the ensemble solutions are trying to bring the nose of that precipitation actually into our western region, which goes all the way to New Mexico. So western Texas, New Mexico, we may have to be looking out for tropical moisture from a system coming out of the Gulf that might get that far to the west here. Meanwhile, scattered storms midweek and through this area, and once again, today and into tomorrow, we do need to be on the lookout for some storms here in parts of Northern California. So showing you this view of how that's all going to evolve, let's press play and see how things shape up here. Now as we work our way into this afternoon and this evening, so this is really getting into the evening hours, while you don't see it too well defined, can you see some splotches of green in there? That would be the storms that could pop up later on today. Meanwhile, the feature that could be coming into parts of New Mexico and Texas is sitting right here. As we work our way through the day tomorrow and then into Wednesday morning, now we can start to see the shape of that upper level low. Can you see this isobar kind of curling around here? Well, this is Wednesday afternoon and evening, and it'll be that time period that we're going to watch this corridor right in through here for a bit more thunderstorm activity. Okay, so just be on the lookout for some storms in through this wedge and through here. This again would be Wednesday evening. As we progress later in the week, getting into Thursday afternoon and evening, into parts of Oregon and Idaho and Montana, this is where our thunderstorm activity is going to be. We can certainly see the monsoon still bringing in some, well, much needed precipitation in through here. The question will be, how far into southern Arizona does this precipitation make it? Meanwhile, that open wave is starting to close itself off in the Gulf of Mexico here, and we see that by Friday morning, it is there as a closed low. So this is going to be interesting to watch Friday throughout the day. And as that pulls into Texas, just keep your attention right here. Much of the West Coast goes over drier, but we see this feature moving through Texas through the weekend, setting up shop here now west of San Antonio, and then getting over into part. Look at that. Look at how far the circulation is forecast to make it in the operational model. The monsoon's still going, but that's pretty far inland to be getting a tropical system to continue to move toward the west like that. So we have a lot to be watching here in the southwestern United States. Now looking out at the pattern beyond this, once again, you can see that through this weekend, there's our ridge feature, all right? And we're going to have flow around it doing something like this, which is what's going to help take that system this direction. But this is the trough that moved through middle of the week that gave us those thunderstorm chances here. And we still see broad troughing across the western United States. And it tends to stay there all the way out to day 10. And while our two models have a little bit different solutions, they tend to keep the ridge more here in the Four Corners states with broader troughing across the west. And the good thing about this is, I brought this up last week, this is not the pattern we typically fear at this time of year, which is a big ridge here with some sort of cutoff low over California. That high over low pattern is one that gets very stagnant, very hot, and brings in the Santa Ana winds. So take it off there. We still don't see that showing up in the models. So what do we end up getting for the week 2 precipitation? Well, we still tend to see our southwestern monsoon going, and because it's normally dry, outside of just thunderstorm activity on the mountains, the west is going to stay, relatively dry, but that's quite normal for this time of year. Now, looking at our temperatures, again, a little bit different view today. This is going to be high temperatures and only anomalies shown to you. So we do have some pretty warm days coming up here to start the week in parts of the Pacific Northwest. So see the Columbia Basin getting down into parts of Oregon. In fact, there's still heat advisories out for southern Oregon right into this area. But what you're going to notice as I play this forward, as we get into the day tomorrow, so this would now be Wednesday, the heat stays on through parts of Oregon and getting up to the Columbia Basin. But then toward the middle and end of the week, as those troughs move their way in, we just don't see the much above average temperatures hanging on in the forecast. So this is very close to climatological normal up here, maybe a slight cool bias as we work our way through the rest of this week. So to show that to you in a little bit different way, this is the next 5 days over here on the left, and we do just see, in general, a stormier, cooler pattern for parts of the southwest and then near average temperatures throughout much of the western United States. We notice that in days 5 through 10, as the ridge begins to back itself up here, maybe a return back over to normal, maybe above average temperatures. But looking out here into the day 11 through 15, it's all going to depend on how far to the west that ridge makes it to see if we're going to go back over to a warmer pattern in California. We've had a lot of trouble in the models with the prediction of longer range heat not materializing. So when I show you now the new August projections, so this is all of August now from the European model, we once again see this. Yet we have yet to see this summer sustained above average temperatures like they're calling for in the month of August. So the big questions that remain for me, and ones I'll be trying to answer for you, is this ridge actually going to back itself up and get pretty far to the west as we move forward in the forecast through August? If it does, then the heat comes on, but it has not been able to do that yet. You've now heard me say that about a dozen times. So I think we have a lot to be watching here in the longer range forecast for the western United States, and a lot of things hang in the balance. I'll be giving you a brand new long range update tomorrow, so I'm going to spend much of the rest of the day researching this to try to understand what this pattern is going to do. So I'll report back to you again very soon, okay? Thanks for your attention today. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow. Thanks.